So the garbage service came to dump this dumpster, and it dumped glass all out in front of our truck. See those piles of glass right there? And about 6 employees have now come to work, clocked in, walked right past Jenna, and she's out there with our broom cleaning up all this glass in their parking lot, and not one of them have made any effort to be like, hey, we'll clean the glass up on our parking lot. No, they're just having the drivers do it, so we don't have to drive over all that glass. Not a part of the job description, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay guys, Eric here with driverlineup.com, world's okayest steering wheel holder. Jenna is here with me. As you guys just saw, Jenna just finished up cleanup on aisle 9. And it's actually pretty gross. You can't tell, but the ground is thick with like fish grease. The whole pavement.
Like, that's why you probably saw me pulling the broom backwards instead of pushing it, because if you try to push it, it just sticks to the ground. But if you just kind of like pull it backwards,
yeah, we're picking up.
It's sticky, like your shoes stick to the
all
ground.
the pavement is. I went out and put some coolant in the truck, just topping off the fluids and stuff, and I was sticking to the ground. But this, I don't want to stay on this topic too much, but just let you know, this dumpster got the city services came and lifted this dumpster over the back of it, and glass just went, and it's big pieces of glass too, shattered all across the ground in front of us.
Light bulbs, like the big light bulb tubes.
And he just drove over it, and a whole bunch of it stuck in his tires, and then he just left. And it's like nobody made, like, it was all in front of the truck, and I'm like, I don't want to drive over this shit. So
well, in front of the truck and in front of where the employees park. So if we're concerned about our tires, what do you think that's going to do to a passenger
their
car?
little tires, yeah. So anyway, Jenna did her good deed. Some employees did come out and bring her their tools so that she could continue doing their job. Anyway, so I wanted to do this second video today to address a lot of comments that I've gotten over the last months about gross versus net, because and there was one in, I think, yesterday's video or this morning's video, and somebody asked, when you and Jenna say you brought home $5,000 last week, what do you mean? Do your costs still come out of that, etc.? So in this quick video, there's a lot of times I'll reference it in different ways. Sometimes I talk about what we brought to the truck. When I do that, or when I talk about what a load pays, I'm talking about gross. Now all that's 1099 to me, to my LLC, but that's the gross. So this load right now is paying like $1,200, I think, roughly, to go 570 miles or whatever. So that's $1,200 to the truck. That's gross. This week we'll be grossing about I think about 8,500. That's gross to the truck. Last week we grossed 9,000 to the truck. Between us, last week we brought home 5,000. That's our net. But also keep in mind that she has health insurance that comes out of that, but taxes come out of that. So that's not the after-tax net, but that's what, you know, that's the actual taxable income. Now I have some other business expenses that come out of that too that don't show on my settlement. So, but the point is, of that 9,000 gross to the truck, our costs were being loaded right now, so we're bouncy, but our cost was about $4,000 to run the truck last week, and that's tolls, fuel, truck payment, insurance, permits, you know, all accounting, all that stuff. Cost about $4,000 last week. Usually some drivers get really anal and they break down their per trip and per mile and all that stuff. I'll do that over like a longer period of time. But usually the way I look at it is that I can expect about half of my gross between the two of us. It usually works out to be roughly half. Last week we had a couple light loads, so our cost was $4,000. We brought home $5,000. But usually it's about half if we cross a certain threshold. You know, if we get into like 7,000 gross in a week, then if it's 7,000 gross, typically we're going to see about 3,500. If it's 8,000, we're going to see about 4,000. If it's 9,000, we're going to see 4,500, etc. Last week was a little bit better, lower on the cost, and that can vary too. But that's just kind of that's a good way that I just kind of, we don't live paycheck to paycheck, so I'm not trying to figure out the exact dollar amount. I just know that we need to cross a threshold of about $7,000 in a week, and then from that point on, I can assume safely that our net, what we bring home combined, is going to be about half of that. If we do a $10,000 week, we're going to bring home $5,000, sometimes even more. And the more revenue, too, the more that number that we bring home goes up, because we've already paid for the truck and all that stuff. So at that stage, it just becomes fuel. Now, if the revenue is really low, then it's going to be less than that 50%, because our costs are a higher percentage of our gross. So if we as a team truck only do $5,000 in revenue, well, I'm not going to make very much, because you know, all my cost with paying her and paying the insurance and health and wellness and workman's comp and all the stuff that comes on my settlement for her, because she's a company driver, usually is going to be about $3,000. So, you know, at $5,000, when I got all my fuel and stuff that comes out of that, I'm not really going to make a whole lot of money. So really, we try to do an absolute minimum of $7,000 in revenue in a week gross, and then it just gets better and better up beyond that. So sometimes I'll talk about gross to the truck, and that just means the total amount that the truck earned to my LLC. But that doesn't mean that's what I get paid. When I say we brought home combined, that's our net. I won't always say we netted, or, you know, I'll say last week we brought home $5,000 between the two of us. I had like, I don't remember. Anyway, it was before taxes and before money went to the emergency fund. It was about $5,000. We grossed about $9,000. So I'll say we made $5,000 between the two of us, or we brought home $5,000 between the two of us. When I say it that way, that's what was left for us. When I say gross, what the truck earned, that doesn't mean that that's what we make. And sometimes when I talk about gross, people are like, "There's no way you made $9,000 last week." That's not what I said. If I say gross, that's what the truck generated. That is not, we didn't bring home $9,000. She's ready for the paperwork. Hang on a second, she's gonna grab the paperwork. Be right back. Jenna's dreading going inside because it smells like an aquarium in there, because again, this is a pet food, like fish and stuff. Anyway, so, you know, every time I talk about gross, I get people saying, "There's no way you made that much money." Yeah, our truck actually does generate, I don't know, I'd say our truck generates probably $35,000 a month, somewhere, you know, it varies wildly. But yeah, our truck just does generate that. That's not the amount we get paid. When I say we brought home $5,000 last week together combined, that is what we actually got paid before taxes and before insurance and all that stuff. So, you know, we make it, I mean, it's still really good money, guys. It's still really good money. I told somebody the other day, they were like, you guys are just, you're just throwing away money. You're just renting trucks, and you're not, and I responded, I was like, well, but we're making like $15,000 to run our truck for 3.5 weeks, and we're buying 2 trucks this year. I don't know how that could be considered not good money. So it is good money, but if you hear me say we're grossing $9,000 in a week, that does not mean we made or brought home $9,000 a week. If you hear me say we made $5,000 or we brought home $5,000, that is the amount that we made and got paid. So that is, now, please don't think that as a solo driver you're going to make that kind of money. You're not. And don't think that you're going to make that kind of money as a trainer, because again, both of us, the money goes to the same place. So we have a unique, if you're a team couple, you have a unique situation. If I was a trainer, I would pay that money to someone else, to someone else's bank account. If I was teaming with somebody else who is not a family member or was not, the other half, then I'd pay that out to someone else. So really, it's still good. You're still gonna make good money. You're gonna make a lot better money if you can train or run a team truck. The loads pay better. You get more loads in. Sometimes they're lighter, more efficient loads. But for us, we make what I would consider stupid good money. But it's because, it's the 2 of us and all the money comes to the same place. Remy's very upset at these. She's mad at these employees because they didn't help clean up the glass. So anyway, that's gross versus a net. Again, sometimes you'll hear me say we brought home or we made. When I say that, that's what we actually made. That was our net. If you hear me say gross or to the truck, that's not what we actually make. That's what the truck generates. That's the total amount we generated. So, but yeah, that 5,000 last week, that was after everything else. Like and that's not uncommon either. Like, I know that may be hard for some of you that hate mega carriers to believe. I'm not going to give you our total, like what we make in a month or in a year. I'm not going to get into those kind of details, but let me just say, us together making $5,000 in a week is not uncommon. It's not. It's just not. Like, we make really good money doing this, So anyway, guys, be safe, make good decisions. As always, drive to thrive. We'll talk to you soon.